go, 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 go time.
Good morning and welcome to episode 3 of the Next Level Mortgaging Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Martin from Mission 35 Mortgages, and I am here to pass on some information from my first year as a mortgaging agent at Mission 35 Mortgages in Hamilton, Burlington. And what do I want to talk to you about this week? I want to give you a little bit of information on what I do somewhat differently from everybody else, I feel. The one thing I could never wrap my head around that um, I had a hard time with. I'm a pretty personable person. I find you sit down and talk with me, I can talk most subjects. I can talk sports if you want me to talk sports. I can talk finances, obviously. I can talk construction. I could talk TV, movies, most of that kind of stuff. You name it, I can usually find a subject to talk about. Food, all that kind of stuff. Um, but the one thing I'm really, really not good at is cold calls. I can't just call somebody up and say, "Hey, it's Todd Martin from Mission 35 Mortgages," blah, 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 blah. It's not my thing. I'm not a salesman like that. I much rather um, be in front of you and get to know you and figure out what you need, how I can help you that way. And I really struggled in that department at the very beginning of my journey. And I had to figure out a new way to do this because it really wasn't working for me. I did what I was supposed to. I put my list together, 40 real estate agents, business people I wanted to talk to, favorite people I wanted to talk to. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And my first day, I went and called 10 more real estate agents, and it was literally, that's exactly how I thought I felt. I talked to people. That's how I sounded in my head. I had one conversation that felt like it went well and had a good lead out of it and good conversations out of it. And it's led to some pretty good people I've talked to in the long run from it. But beyond that, it was like, and literally she felt sorry for me. She literally was like, "Oh my God, Todd, I am going to help you." That's literally how the conversation went. I'm like, I got to find a new way to do this. And so my little um, reach at that point was, I got to get myself in front of people. I got to see how I got to do this so that people know who I am instead of just hearing a voice on the phone. So what did I do? I started making lists. I went out. I saw what open houses were going on around me every weekend. I would pick 4 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, and I would go and randomly go and talk to real estate agents. I would do a rate sheet up. I have custom rate sheets that I created. We have templates that Mission 35 does, and I took them and I made them my own. And then I would go and I would introduce myself to real estate agents, and I would say, "Hey, how's it going, Mission 35 Mortgages? I just want to introduce myself, come out and say hi. Is there anything I can do for you?" And just have the conversation and say, "What are you feeling in the market today?" Because God knows it was not a good time for me to get into the market. And how are you feeling? And what are people doing for you that is making your life easier? I mean, how can I help with that? And, people are like, "Oh God, who's going to listen to you?" But I had great conversations with people, and I would just sit there and talk with them. And I didn't take up their whole time. I didn't take up their whole afternoon. I didn't take up their whole open house. And I made sure they understood that me being there at that open house was not the most important thing. That the people coming through that door, that were prospective buyers, prospective sellers, prospective clients, they were first. They were number one. Me being there was, I would stand by the corner. If they were really busy, I would literally say, "Do you mind if I just take a card and send you an email later this week?" And I literally had a huge, introductory email I'd put together, way too long. By the time I realized, far too long, but that's okay. It was fun. Um, and I would just go and I would just introduce myself and say, "Hi, how you doing?" And people were like, "Mortgage agents don't do this anymore." I said, "Well, that's okay. I do." And it was great. And, good things came of that. And then the next second weekend I did it, I got some advice of all people, my mom. She said, downstairs in the basement in the freezer, there are containers and containers of frozen baked goods from Christmas. She said, "Make trays up, bring them with you." She said, everybody knows the best way to get to a real estate agent's heart is through their stomach. I said, ooh, good idea. So away I went, made some trays, and I went to do 8 more open houses the next weekend, and you wouldn't believe how well it went. And excuse my language, but the most common phrase when I walked into an open house that weekend was, fuck off, right? Not like, get out of the house, as in, are you serious? Did you just bring me baked goods? I said, not only did I bring you baked goods, these are home baked, right? And these are just a gift for you for your open house to make it just a little more welcoming. And they went off like crazy. And I was like, holy crap. Called my mom at home. I said, I've always been a cook. I've never been a baker. Cooking is an art. Baking is a science. I've never had the patience for it. And I said, Mom, give me one recipe that I can do, that I can bake, because the freezer was empty at that point. She gave me one recipe, and I was able to make it my own. And it's just taken off since then. And since then, more than just going to see the open houses, I take the time now. I go do events, I do trade shows, I do business expos, I walk around home shows, and I introduce myself to people. I talk to people. I say, I listen. I find out what their needs, their wants are, and I take the time to not just do a Zoom meeting with somebody or take a phone call. If I can, I have coffee with them. I take them out to lunch. I take the time to drive out to where they are, to their office, where they're comfortable, and say, how can I make your life easier? How can I make what you need possible, right? And it's not just clients, it's professionals, it's people that make my life easier too. Like, I went to a business expo, the very first one I think I ever went to. I made a contact named Simona from Mayfair Law in Toronto. She's been outstanding, one of the best contacts I've ever had. We had a conversation, and we had this exact same conversation. How we talked about the lost art of contact, right? Of being in person. So when we actually had our first meeting, I made it my goal to go out and meet her at her office and sit down and have coffee and a donut together, and just, have our goal setting together. Right. And it was fantastic. Her and I have been in contact ever since. And she's one of my favorite people. And I love reaching out to her when she reaches out to me and says, I have this for you, or, let's just connect. And ever since then, I went and gone and walked around, a handful of BizCon business expos and home shows since then. And I've even booked a couple of booths at the BizCon events to have 400 or 500 people come and walk past your booth and walk past you and come up, shake your hand, take your card, tell you what they need, what's going on in their life, what's going on in their mind and their time frame. I just did a business expo last week in Mississauga, and it was absolutely amazing. What an experience. I had probably 300, I probably talked to 120 people, 70 cards given out, and it was absolutely unreal. And I would take and do that experience every time, all the time. And that is just an experience I wouldn't give up for no matter, for any phone call. I will take the phone call and set up a meeting. I will take a phone call and set up a Zoom chat, just so I can get the opportunity to talk to somebody. I guess, part of it comes to, I love to play poker. I love to play sports, and just that ability to read somebody and talk to somebody. And, I think conversation is a lost art, and it is an ability to get into somebody's life and know who and what they are and what they need. Not in some weird way, but just so that you understand where they are in their life. I mean, I'm coming into somebody's life, and I'm what will be their biggest investment in their life. I don't want to just go, okay, well, here's $500,000. Good luck. See ya. 5 years. Right? I want to help. I want to understand, well, that $500,000, do you want to be able to pay down faster? Would you rather it stretch out a little bit longer so it's easier for you over the next few years? Can I teach you how to pay it off so you can get to your kids' retirement or your retirement fund or your kid's college fund, anything along those lines. What can I do? What is your goal with that $500,000? Do you want to get into investment properties? Do you want to get into investments? Do you want to get into whatever, RSPs? You tell me what your goals are so I can help you get there. And I can do that better if I'm face to face with you. And that's one of the very first lessons I learned in this business is get me in front of you so I can learn what's important to you. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk again soon.